Earth around 3.5 billion years ago was a bit dull. There wasn't much to do, not exactly much of a nightlife. In fact, there was no life. Let's fast forward a bit. Okay, let's pause there. You have just witnessed 3.5 billion years of evolution. Many people have suggested ideas or theories about how life on Earth has changed or evolved. The theory of evolution by natural selection, proposed by Charles Darwin in the 1800s, has stood the test of time. Natural selection is often described as the survival of the fittest. This doesn't mean that being good-looking will increase an organism's chances of survival, but it means being biologically fit, or well adapted to your environment. Organisms that are well adapted to their environment are likely to survive and pass on their advantageous genes to their offspring. So how does natural selection work? Let's start with an easier task. Let's see how many moths you can count in 5 seconds. So how many moths did you count, and what colour were they? Let's take a closer look at the image. You can see here that there are 2 distinct colours of moth, or 2 variations. One of these is a very dark moth, which you probably counted. The other is a pale moth that's really well blended in with its environment. This is known as camouflage. These moths are usually found on trees. The light moths are difficult to see against the light bark of these trees. This adaptation has allowed them to avoid predation, which means being eaten. Over time, the number of lighter moths in the population will increase, whilst the number of black moths, which are more likely to be eaten, will decrease. Let's look at this process in a bit more detail. Variation. Individuals in a population vary slightly. For example, size, colour, or even resistance to disease. Sometimes this variation is caused by a mutation in the genes of an organism. In this case, it's the colour of the moths. Overproduction. Most organisms produce more young than will survive to adulthood. Competition. There is always competition for survival between organisms. Survival. Those with the characteristics best suited to their environment are more likely to survive. In this case, this is the lighter moths, as they are camouflaged so predators can't spot them and eat them. Advantageous characteristics are inherited. This means they are better adapted. A gradual change. Survivors reproduce and pass on genes for advantageous characteristics to their offspring. There is a gradual change in the population over time. There are more individuals with the advantageous characteristic, and the poorly adapted individuals are eventually lost. The number of white moths increases, and the number of dark moths decreases.